Here's the Power Virtuoso build for World vs. World Roaming. I'm going to be showing how I play this build in outnumbered and roaming situations. So if you want to see the build, then check out the link in the description. And let's get straight into this. So we're 1v1ing a Catalyst. I'm using my blocks because blocks give me pretty much everything in this build. Quickness, blades, and sustain. Then we want to go for our burst with the F1 and the dagger pistol set. So when we're in sword shield, we're kind of getting our blades up by dodging, evading, using the sword 3 to get mobility. And then when I'm ready to go in for the burst, I use my F3 there to get the buffs from using my shatters, and then I land all of my abilities from the dagger pistol set. So you generally want to use the pistol 4 first, because the pistol 4 takes a little bit of time to cook. So you want to use that first, then you use your pistol 5, then you go in with your F1, and then you hit them with your dagger abilities, and they pretty much die after that. So here's a situation where I'm getting chased by a Vindicator with a short bow. I'm doing a lot of damage to them. They seem pretty squishy, so even though they have the salvation trait line, it looks like they're pretty squishy here. So I land my F1 and my stun on the pistol, and they're going to be really low, but 2 more enemies come in, and they're actually from a different server than the Vindicator, so this is kind of like a 3-way. I want to finish off the Vindicator because I can get a stomp maybe, but I'm pretty much out of cooldown, so I can't go for the stomp, and they immediately swapped me, and I get taken out. But I'm going to rally as soon as this goes down, so now I rally, and I'm going to blink out, use mass invisibility, and we're going to try to reset, get our mantra of concentration up, which is going to give us stability, and I'm just going to bait them towards the dredge area here, because this gives me line of sight. It's going to be really good against this soul beast that has a longbow. So I port back with my sword 3's return, and I land my big burst from the pistol and the F1. I'm going to block, try to get my cooldowns back, keep blocking. I'm going to use stability here probably, yep, because I'm getting CC spammed. I use my distortion so I can keep auto attacking while I'm invulnerable, and I'm kind of out of cooldowns here, so I'm going to try to go for a final burst, use my invulnerability that gives me blades. And now we've got the soul beast down. I'm going to use my sword 3 to go in to stomp, sword 3 back out, and then blink back in to get the stomp, because you can blink while stomping. But now I've got pretty much no cooldowns, and the Catalyst is really chasing me hard. They eat my full burst though from the pistol, and they're even lower health than me now, so I'm going to just finish them off. So you do a lot of range damage. If there's a melee class chasing you and they're not right on top of you, it's going to feel pretty bad for them. But if they get on top of you, it's kind of hard for you to land your abilities on them because you have to turn and face them. So here's a situation where I've got a Reaper constantly on me, so I need to be constantly getting away from them. Using the blink, I'm going to be using the sword 3 here to get distance. Then when I get the distance, I use my burst from max range. When they get into range, I'm going to try to CC them, block, and then go back into my sword later to get more mobility. So they go into Shroud here. I stun them, but I'm out of evade, so I'm going to need to use my sword leap to get out. I get feared, so I'm chilled. So this is pretty bad. I use my F5, I believe, there just for the Aegis, and I use my invulnerability, so I'm low on cooldowns, but my F1 lands, and that does 10,000 damage. I'm using my sword here probably pretty soon, so I'm going to have to de-target after landing my mantra, use the sword leap so that I can use my burst from range, and then by the time they get to me, I'm pretty much just landing all of my skills from the dagger pistol on them, and I'm able to get the stomp with the stability here from my mantra of concentration. So yeah, you really want to make sure that you're creating distance in between your burst combos with the sword and your blink, and then when enemies catch up to you, you use your blocks, distortion, and then you keep doing pressure to them. Now here's a situation where a dragon hunter is chasing me out of a stone mist castle. I'm going to immediately dodge because I know that they want to use their F1 early because it's one of their most important skills. And now we're blocking into our F2, use some of our pistol abilities, get the stun and do some damage, pressure out those blocks on the DH, but now a soul beast is here and I have to go invulnerable to avoid their initial burst with Sikkim. I use my heal skill to get some more blocks, and I immediately retarget to the soul beast, use my F1 and sword 3, and they take a bit of damage. I shield 5 to stun them, but my F2 doesn't land and they're kiting, so I'm going to use my mass invisibility here to stealth and look for another opening So the Soul Beast is now kiting me and the Dragon Hunter is on me, so I might have to retarget here. And I'm going to be able to use my F1, which is going to do a decent amount of damage, but I need to get my Mantra of Concentration to get some stability here. And I go in for the burst on the Dragon Hunter, and while I'm evading, I port back with my Sword 3, so I evade the trap application, and we're just going to auto attack this Dragon Hunter down with quickness. And I go for the Stomp with Distortion, so I'd get knocked back or die from the Soul Beast barrage there. And we're going to blink and immediately use our pistol stun as soon as the Soul Beast chases us behind terrain there, because they're not expecting that to happen, because they're chasing me. They can't see my animations. As soon as I pop out, I land the pistol burst on them because they're not expecting it and probably out of cooldowns. Here's a situation where a Harbinger is approaching me at a sentry. I immediately use all of my damage on them, but they use their cooldowns and they're going to be able to survive. Generally, Harbingers are extremely hard to 1v1, but this one is running a weird build with like signets, so it's maybe not the hardest. I use my Distortion and my pistol burst, and we actually get quite a bit of damage before they're able to go into their elite, which gives them just way too much presence and I can't finish them off. So we're going to back off and try to survive with the Sword 3, but I see a Spectre's coming in and I have to invuln, so I try to finish them, but they're way too high health. So I'm going to dodge the Siphon here and go into Mass Invisibility. It looks like they're trying to cut me off, so I change direction to go back in for the Harbinger, but they're just disengaging. So I get out of combat and I'm going to mount and just try to cap this sentry again, because yeah, the Harbinger interrupted me, so if I can cap this, I can maybe get a sentry, which will give me reveal. But the Spectre re-engages on me, and I use my blocks and my evades. Use my F1, which does a little bit of damage, but they immediately heal. My Shield 5 lands, and I hit them with my Sword 3. I dodge for a little bit more of my clone generation, and my F2 cleanses me a bit. I start running, and they chase me, so I'm able to easily land my pistol stun into all of my pistol phantasm and dagger 2, and that does a lot of damage. So I'm going to distort now so they can't put slow on me, and I can just auto attack for a lot of damage. And when a Spectre doesn't have the shroud, they are quite squishy. So yeah, you really want to be using your burst when you know that the enemy is out of cooldowns. Here's a situation where I am heading into the Bloodlust and a Deadeye opens on me, so they immediately use their Dagger Storm, and I'm going to try to hit them with my F1 from line of sight, but they're moving around a lot and they're really scared of me. So their second thief comes in and I immediately swap to whoever's closest, because the Deadeye is just going to perma stealth, so I'm not going to be able to finish them. So I'm kiting. I port up to the jumping puzzle here, and I'm going to be able to survive because a thief can't steal on me. I mass invisibility, and that's basically just going to tell them, hey, you probably should back off. But I'm going to stay up here to see what they do. Maybe they will chase still. I'm still in combat, so they probably still want to go for this kill. So they're going to probably come up the jumping puzzle here. And I've got my cooldowns back if they do. So I've got a pretty good chance up here because the Deadeye can't use their mobility to survive. So I've got a better chance on terrain fighting a thief, and that's pretty much always the case. I land my pistol burst on them because they're trying to jump up the puzzle. You can't really dodge when you're going up puzzles like this because then you'll fall off. So it's really easy for me to land my burst. Now the other thief comes in, and I'm going to use my shield 5, but I get interrupted, and I'm going to just distortion immediately because they're going to use most of their stuff right at the start. I get stunned, and I'm going to have to use my invulnerability, and they're really aggressive on me. So I land my pistol 5 by turning around. Have to use my heal after leaping over here, and I'm kiting around. I go down the terrain now, and I land my shield 5 into my F1, and then I'm going to use my F2 and finish them off with a sword 2. So yeah, using the terrain is extremely important against thieves, and we're going to be able to cleave them because the thief can't really do much while we're on this terrain here as well. But I go to the top and they can steal to me here. I use my shield 4 to survive just a little bit longer until I can cleave that thief out and get into mass invisibility, land my heal, and now the thief, as you can see, is dodging around, but they fall off, and I know that they're going to immediately steal to me as soon as they're able to because we've been on non-port spots, and now they steal to me into my invulnerability, and they are pretty much out of everything because they didn't land their steal. but that kind of gives you an idea of how to play the Power Virtuoso in World vs. World. If you do like this content, then please like the video, subscribe for more, check out my Patreon or any of the links in the description if you want to support me, and I will see you all next time.